I became a Christian when I was 12 years old. That was 61 years ago, if you're counting. And it was in a gospel meeting in my hometown of Jackson, Tennessee. I had given some thought to that. I had some friends who were also seriously considering where we were in life and what decisions we needed to make. And so I was baptized during that gospel meeting.
Great, great. So you grew up with father and mother were both Christians, encouraged you and taught you that sort of thing?
I grew up in a faith-based home.
Mm-hmm.
They were not spiritual giants by
Mm-hmm.
any means,
Mm-hmm.
but they were believers. And some of my earliest memories, actually most special memories as a young girl, were of my mom sitting bedside to me and reading from the book of Proverbs at night.
Mm-hmm.
And she would point me to scriptures like, let me see, Proverbs 9:10 that says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge or wisdom. And I knew enough at that point to know that wisdom was a good thing. And so it sounded like a good idea to pursue the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so she pointed me, or they pointed me, in the direction of the Word. And we grew together, I think,
Mm-hmm.
through the years.
Well, that's just great. That is a partial answer, I think, maybe to my next question, and that is, what is the basic foundation of your faith?
Doug, the basic foundation has to be the Word. God created this world. He breathed it into existence. His scriptures are God-breathed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by faith, I believe that is the way. That has to be the foundation for my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I also believe that Jesus Christ, of course, is the only true way to the Father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He is the way, the truth, and the life.
Mm-hmm.
I've also had a lot of songs, hymns that have been very helpful to me as far as my spiritual foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about some of these, and one of those is how firm a foundation
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is Jesus, my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anchored to the rock that
Mm-hmm.
cannot move, grounded, firm, and deep in the Savior's love.
Mm-hmm.
So once I began to tune into the Word, it became richer and richer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still finding it richer and richer. And during these days of virus craziness,
Mm-hmm.
I'm having an opportunity to spend more time, and it's become richer and richer as I do that.
Mm-hmm. Just in case you're not as mature as Judy and I are, she was quoting the actual lyrics of some of the older songs that have meant so much to us through the years. Well, describe the greatest trial of faith that you have experienced in your, shall I say, long life?
Yes, long, mature life, indeed. Doug, that has to be my husband's health issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll try to summarize this as quickly as I can. But in 1973, I came to Oxford, Mississippi as a newlywed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we were doing the putting hubby through school thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we waited 5 years to start a family. So at age 32, I was about to give birth to our first child and went to my doctor's office and met my husband in the same arena, in the same lobby. He had been to his doctor's office. About a month before that, we had had a very strange growth appear on his shoulder. And it grew extremely rapidly. And I guess I didn't pay as much attention to it as I should, given the fact that it was summertime and I was having my first child. I was a little preoccupied.
Mm-hmm.
But as we met, he said, I'm going to have surgery. And I said, I'm going to have this baby first. So a week later, I was a mother of a firstborn child and had a husband in the hospital with cancer. So that sort of began my greatest trial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Through the years, Charlie had a number of issues,
Mm-hmm.
particularly plagued with back issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had more than a dozen surgeries of all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
We had surgeries in Oxford and Tupelo and Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We did everything from physical therapy to acupuncture. We did minimally invasive surgery, etc. So I saw my brilliant PhD become an individual who could not feed himself. He had dementia. He was virtually deaf and pretty much totally dependent on others.
Okay, so that was a pretty, that must have been a pretty overwhelming thing. Yet here you are today, a very faithful, I'm going to say strong believer, strong Christian, strong disciple. If you were going to take a huge exam or you're going to climb a mountain, you would prepare. You didn't know that this was going to be facing you in your life, but you did in the first, 32 years, you must have done some things that kind of prepared you for the next 32 or 40 years or how many years it was that you had to fight this thing. So what did you do that you think in retrospect, looking back on it, that prepared you for this trial?
Doug, I have been very blessed to have been in environments where people encouraged me. I've tried to be wise in seeking Christian friends and Christian opportunities for growth. So God has utilized all of that to, and again, address me back and back to his word, where he says that I'm faithful. I will not leave you or forsake you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I'm a rock. I'm your shepherd. I'm a fortress. I will not leave you. I will not fail you. So I've had many opportunities to feed on these kinds of materials and to look at other people who were going through trials much greater than mine, and to see the attitudes that said, you know, it can always be worse, and that God will use, like Joseph's life. His brothers meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So those life lessons have thankfully helped prepare me for the trials that I have faced.
So when it really got intense and you know, it just, we watched you walk through this period, and it seems like that there was always, it was like we say this game, whack-a-mole. It seemed like there was always another issue that just kept coming, just kept coming, year after year, just kept coming. So what did you do during that trial time that allowed your faith to survive? There must have been times when you wanted to just quit, just give up as far as your faith walk goes. How did you and others walk through that time?
Doug, it was hard. Yes. You know, in this life we will have tribulations. But behold, you know, God overcomes that. He brought people into my life who stood so close, family and church friends, loved ones, like yourself, who stood so close, surrounded us so closely that we could not fall. And that's just the truth. All of our needs were met. One of the lessons that I learned was very hard. I think it is for a lot of us, quote, independent people who are supposed to, quote, have it all together and be a little bit maybe control freaks. I learned that I needed to humble myself, and to ask for what I needed. And I found that every time I did that, and this involves some very delicate situations in Charlie's later years. For example, I was not able to get him into bed by myself. I had to call on brothers to assist me literally in using equipment like at a nursing home to get my husband into bed. That was a very humbling experience. What God showed me through that was that these men, I would specify a time in basically a 15-minute commitment. Some of them would bring their families. Some of them would bring their children. And it was a learning experience for them as well as for me. And I saw that as I actually did put my needs very specifically, very real everyday kinds of needs,
Mm-hmm.
that God sent the right people into my life to care for those needs. Christian nurses. We had a team called Charlie's Angels that literally were and still are in my life, to care for myself as well as to care for Charlie. And they were very wise in allowing me to get out of the house sometimes and to take a walk, to do some things that help kind of refuel and refresh me. So all of those things were extremely helpful. I just had so many life lessons about that, very unforeseen things, like we needed to literally get to Nashville at one point from Oxford. And Charlie was not able to go by car or anything like that. And as it turns out, God put a person in my daughter's life who worked in Nashville, whose husband was a neurologist. She sat down in his kitchen and reviewed their records, and he said, get him here as soon as possible. So the job became how to do that. God provided a private airplane. I went out to search to see if that would work, and there was no way I was going to be able to walk him up these wings and get him in this little small airplane. And the gentleman whom I had never met, who was a friend of a brother, said, we'll make this work. And he made it work. He was able to rearrange the seats so that we could do that almost miraculous deed of getting him into the airplane. God provided an airport 5 minutes away from the hospital where we were going. The surgeon in Nashville had greased the skids so that when we got there, everything was ready. This whole team was ready for us, and the paperwork was made fast, and just on and on. We ended up going to a nursing home basically for 3 months. And I thought, there's no way that I'll get Charlie Cooper to agree to do this. And a friend of my son's, he had played baseball with, was a physical therapist in that area. And he was able to point us to and help us to get into a 4-star, basically, kind of facility that was absolutely amazing.
I saw you there. It was a nice place.
Yes, you did see me there. You brought Charlie a book. You were one of our supporters and one of the people that just sent us text and told us they were praying for us and showed up. And people brought our dogs from Oxford, Mississippi to Nashville to go out in the lawn. Just all kinds of comforts that were provided for us.
Well, Judy, this really helps me to relive some precious memories too, and I really appreciate you sharing these personal things with our class. We are enjoying studying the heroes of Hebrews 11, but to bring it up to the 21st century means a lot too. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your openness and your encouragement for everybody. Maybe this won't be our last interview. We may ask some other folks like you to share with our class also. Thank you so much.
Doug, could I say one thing in closing?
Yes, please.
I know that I have been blessed to be a blessing, and that's where I am right now. I know that I have been comforted to be a comfort. So as God has blessed me, it is now my opportunity and my privilege to pass that along to others. So thank you for this opportunity today.
Great. You did a great job. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
Super. All right. We'll see you soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you.